Gareth Wyn Williams was a brilliant British codebreaker whose death in 2010 remains one of the most chilling and unresolved mysteries in modern espionage. Found zipped inside a padlocked duffel bag in a London safe house, his story is a haunting blend of secrecy, institutional silence, and unanswered questions. This episode explores the full arc from his extraordinary life to the deeply flawed investigation that followed, and why 15 years later, the case still remains unsolved. Welcome back to the Passport to Crime podcast. I'm your host, Oakley, and today we're entering the covert corridors of British intelligence, where silence is protocol, truth is elusive, and one man's death continues to cast a long shadow over the agencies sworn to protect him. This is the story of Gareth Wyn Williams, a gifted mathematician, an elite codebreaker, and an intelligence officer whose life ended in circumstances so bizarre, so unsettling, that even seasoned investigators were left grasping for answers. His body was found zipped inside a red North Face duffel bag, padlocked from the outside, in the bathtub of a government-owned flat in Pimlico, London. There was no fingerprints on the lock, no signs of forced entry, no DNA, and no clear explanation. It was August 23rd, 2010. London was sweltering in summer heat. Gareth's body lay undiscovered for nearly a week. The flat was a known MI6 safe house. Inside, the blinds were drawn, the air was heavy, and in the bathroom, zipped inside a holdall, was Gareth, naked, curled into a fetal position, and badly decomposed. Gareth was 31, originally from Valley Anglesey in Wales. He was a child prodigy who had graduated with a first-class mathematics degree at the age of just 17. He spoke Welsh as a first language and had a quiet, private demeanour. By the age of 21, he was working for GCHQ, the UK's signals intelligence agency. At the time of his death, he was on a secondment to MI6, collaborating with the NSA and FBI to trace international money laundering routes linked to organised crime and Russian intelligence. He had recently qualified for operational deployment and was considered low risk by international security reviews. But before we begin, as always, a quick disclaimer. This episode contains discussions of death under suspicious circumstances, intelligence operations, and unresolved investigations. Listener discretion is strongly advised. All accounts are drawn from verified public records, inquest findings, and investigative journalism. With that being said, let's delve into today's case. The investigation into Gareth's death was riddled with inconsistencies and institutional interferences. MI6 failed to report him missing for several days. His body was found in a state of advanced decomposition, suggesting he had died around August 16th, 7 days before he was discovered. The flat was scrubbed clean before forensic teams arrived. There was no CCTV footage, and no footage was ever recovered. No usable DNA, no fingerprints, and no signs of a struggle, and no clear cause of death. The coroner's inquest in 2012 concluded that Gareth's death was unnatural and likely criminally meditated. Coroner Fiona Wilcox stated that it was on the balance of probabilities that Gareth was unlawfully killed. She emphasised that Gareth could not have locked himself inside the bag unaided. 2 experts attempted the feat over 400 times and failed. One admitted it was theoretically impossible, but highly improbable. Despite this, a later re-investigation by the Metropolitan Police reversed course. They concluded that Gareth had probably died accidentally, suggesting he may have locked himself inside the bag during a solo escapade. That theory was wildly criticised. It ignored expert testimonies, dismissed the lack of forensic evidence, and failed to account for Gareth's psychological profile. He was intensely private, meticulous, and not known to engage in risky behaviour. Further complicating the narrative was revelations about Gareth's personal life. Police disclosed that he owned £15,000 worth of women's designer clothing, wigs and makeup. Some speculated he led a secret life. Others believed he worked undercover as a woman, but these details became distractions, fodder for tabloids, not answers. Gareth's family insisted he was not involved in any sexual misadventure and believed a third party was responsible for his death. The intelligence community role in the investigation was opaque. The head of MI6 and the Metropolitan Police met early on to discuss how to handle the case. The Foreign Secretary signed a public interest immunity certificate to prevent details of Gareth's work being disclosed to the inquest. The US State Department requested that no information about joint operations be revealed. Even years later, this case still remains unresolved. A forensic review in 2021 found no new DNA evidence and identified no further lines of inquiry. The official position remains that Gareth likely died alone in his flat, accidentally locking himself inside the bag. But for many, including Gareth's family, that conclusion was deeply unsatisfying. So why, after all these years, does Gareth Wyn Williams' death still remain unsolved? Because the psychological evidence was inconclusive. Because the intelligence agencies involved restricted access to key information, and let's look at it bluntly, because the official narrative shifted over time and became the institution tasked with uncovering the truth may have had reasons to look other ways. The coroner's findings were clear. Gareth's death was likely the result of foul play. Yet, the police later contradicted that conclusion, citing lack of evidence. The forensic review in 2021 confirmed what many feared. There were no new leads, no new DNA, and no further avenues to pursue. The case was effectively closed, but again, still not resolved. The case isn't just about espionage, it's about institutional silence, the limits of accountability, and the cost of secrecy. Gareth Wyn Williams was loyal, brilliant, and deeply private. His death left a void, and a trail of unanswered questions. Was it misadventure, murder, or something that the intelligence community would rather leave buried? Thank you for joining me on this investigation. If this story moved you, challenged you, or made you question the official narrative, I invite you to share it. Gareth's story deserves to be remembered, not just in headlines, but in truth. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and remember, behind every locked door, there's a story waiting to be told. And if you haven't already, why not like, subscribe, and check out our Instagram at the Passport to Crime Podcast for exclusive content, episode drops, and more stories that dig beneath the surface. Bye-bye for now, and keep your passports at the ready for the unknown.